think this might be the Bluetooth system in my car I'm in right now. I'm in a Nissan Altima rental car in Las Vegas because on the way out to visit my mother, leaving Worlds last week, I had a nice gentleman back into my my Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 10, which is probably not the most appropriate car for a road trip out 600 miles to come and visit your dear sweet mother. However, regardless, trying to save a couple bucks on renting cars and flying planes, I took a trip out to visit my mom after Worlds about 10 days ago. And in the process, as I said, somebody backed into me, hit my car. But because of my collision insurance, rental car coverage, whatever, I was put into this nice Nissan Altima rental car. It was a Cresta 300 before that, but that's neither here nor there. While I've been in town, I just recently dropped by and trained with Robert Drysdale Jiu Jitsu over at the Venom training facility. Venom gis, Venom MMA gear and all that stuff. Awesome instruction, awesome training. Very happy to be training with Mr. Drysdale. And he will be featured on a future episode of The Clint Show, which is something I'm very excited about. Speaking of The Clint Show, thanks for the support to Azoth. That's seekingazoth.com. If you want to make sure your head's in the game, you're being smart, you're being quick, you're being analytical, you're on the ball, you're making sure you're getting things done, and you got lots of energy, you want a nootropic. Nootropic's basically a supplement for your brain, right? It's a cognitive enhancer, and it'll make sure you're on point, you're too legit to quit, and you're ready to go. So again, this is Azoth from seekingazoth.com, seekingazoth.com, promo code Cronin, CRONIN. And because you're part of my family, my friend, in my clique, my crew, you will get 15% off of your order. You'll be smarter, faster, and kick more ass because you'll be seeking Azoth from seekingazoth.com, promo code Cronin, CRONIN. Anyway, in my travels lately, I made my way out to Miami Beach by way of Atlanta. I met up with the legendary Valente Brothers. You'll be hearing Pedro Valente here shortly, and this it's one of my favorite shows yet. It's basically a history lesson on jiu-jitsu and the passion, the knowledge, the dedication, and sort of the teamwork that their family has shown over the years. I mean, you've got an Elio Gracie black belt on the show today, so this is a special show. It was a special day for me to go out and to train with the Valente Brothers, to spend time with them, to train with their students. They have a world-class, state-of-the-art facility that is meant just for jiu-jitsu, only jiu-jitsu, nothing else. And stay tuned because I may or may not have made my way down to Havana, Cuba, somewhere along those travels as well. Basically, I'll be putting some videos out soon. I wanted to do a little proof of concept, basically, to see, as a journalist, could I go to Havana and just do a day trip? Record a bit, meet people, check out the scenery, check out the locals, meet people, and is it feasible? Could you go from somewhere like, say, Fort Lauderdale, Florida? Because it's only a 40-minute flight. So could I get a visa together? Could I jump on a plane from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and get into Havana, Cuba, no problems? Yeah, and the answer is yes. It was totally feasible. It was totally doable. As a podcaster, as a YouTube person, as a journalist, it's legal. There's a visa you can apply for right then and there on the spot. So I flew Southwest. 45 minutes later, went through customs, and I was in Havana, Cuba. Airbnb, hooked up a beautiful condo or flat or apartment on the eighth floor of a building in near Old Havana. It was kind of a Playa Havana, so it's sort of near not too far from the Copacabana Hotel for all you old school fans, all your salsa dancing fans out there. Anyway, so it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, met a lot of cool people. It was a lot of culture, right? It wasn't so much of a beach thing, right? It was more about just embracing the local culture, the food, seeing what's up in Cuba. What's it like with very little to no internet? What's that like? I really wanted to go down and meet some people that were into jiu-jitsu. Just didn't have time, didn't find any on this trip, but I will be back soon. We'll be trying to uncover the mystery of judo and wrestling in Cuba, which is certainly not a mystery. They're amazing judo players, amazing wrestlers coming out of Cuba, amazing athletes. So, baseball as well, but not really looking for baseball on the show. Anyway, yeah, it was an awesome time. Some pro tips I can give you right quick. Fly from Fort Lauderdale, Southwest, right? If you're you're some sort of journalist, that's fine. Otherwise, if it's like a foreign aid or a charity thing or talking to a school or donating, I don't know how that works. I know as a journalist, I've got my gear. I'm published all over the place, and they accepted that. That's all I know as a podcast guy. So I'm not some big CNN writer or anything like that. Not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. I'm out here trying to show you guys what the world looks like with jiu-jitsu in it and with martial arts in it. So for me, as you guys know, jiu-jitsu has made my life so much better, going around making friends, training. I'm basically training, learning, and making friends right now on this Clint Cronin show journey. And I'm just really thankful that I have great listeners out there that are really into it. I ran into somebody at the airport in Atlanta that recognized me from my show, which is kind of a trip. And just meeting some of the guests and stuff that, when I'm asking them, hey, you want to do the show? They already know what it is. They've already heard it. They've already heard of it. They've seen the stuff on the Instagram, the social media. We're like 12,000 strong on Instagram right now, which is awesome. So I'm having a lot of fun. I'm on the road for weeks now, what seems like anyway. I've lost a little bit of weight, but I'll put it back on. It's all good. The ironic part about circling on back to Las Vegas, getting my car crashed, I just left the chiropractor. A couple years ago on my birthday, I was actually involved in a car accident. The driver hit a pole and really messed my neck up bad. And it's I can do some jiu-jitsu stuff. I can train, but I really have to protect my neck. I don't have the flexibility. The sleeping, I can only lay a certain way. Sometimes I don't get to sleep at all. So I definitely have neck problems from this car accident. Jiu-jitsu helps, yoga helps, eating right, drinking lots of water, all that stuff helps. But it was just ironic. I just went to go get a massage over at this chiropractic place, and I left the clinic only to have my car hit right on the wheel. And why I say right on the wheel, the car reversed out of a 7-Eleven into me as I was driving by, hit me right on the basically the passenger side quarter panel in the front, or fender. So it was the fender, the wheel, the bumper, the headlight, and the tire. There was pieces of glass from his taillight in my tire. Why I mention this, I had just put new tires on literally 3 days ago. New tires, new wheels, and no, not new wheels, I'm sorry, new tires, and I just got the car aligned, and I polished the wheels up real nice. So I made the car look real pretty. I was real proud of the time I spent sitting there, scrubbing away and, in the heat, get these stupid tires put on, all this, and the alignment, and just took a big chunk out of a day to get all this done. And then to drive it to LA for Worlds, to cover Worlds, and then to bounce over to visit my mom. So I'll go visit my mom, and man, my neck's hurting from all this driving around in the car because, I've been a dude in a car wreck, so I've got all kinds of PT appointments even to this day to go to, and so you miss one, and then you're on the road, and it's just these road trips aren't very forgiving. So I have to make sure I go in and get massages, do my neck exercises, all this stuff, make sure I'm proactive about it, because if you don't take PT seriously, it just makes it worse, is basically what I'll say. So everybody out there with the back and neck pain, I feel you. I feel your pain, literally and figuratively. But just ironically, you had to laugh, right? Because I could sit there and get mad because this guy was irresponsible. He didn't check his rear view mirror. Instead of just coasting backwards, this guy punched it. He hit my car pretty darn hard, and it was a pretty big vehicle that collided with me. It was going pretty quick for short distance. I couldn't have done anything. When it was done, it was done. It just happened really quickly. I'm not hurt. My first piece of business was to I sat there in the car after the accident. I said to myself, okay, you need to ask him if he's injured, and then go from there. That's it. I don't want to get out mad, say something stupid. I don't want to be insensitive, because it just escalates. Things just escalate. And I had a second to breathe. I took a breath after the accident. I'm not hurt. I don't think I'm hurt, right? Not worse. My neck was already killing me from the stupid massage thing. It just jolted the car. It was enough to make it look ugly, but not enough to, I don't think, hurt me. I hope. Anyway, the other driver, he was cool. He said he wasn't hurt, which is great. And then from there, I just, we exchanged information and had the insurance claim started while we were still in the parking lot. I used my insurance company's app, and they had me in a rental car pretty darn quick. So it was pretty cool. But then I'm sitting there in Las Vegas, with I don't live here, right? So they have my car in the shop. They're fixing it. They give me a rental car, and I'm basically left with like, what are you supposed to do? Do I go home? Do I go stay with some family, nearby where, my mom and my brother live over here? What do I do? So, I had the opportunity to head east, on some miles basically, and, did that. So took advantage of that, and, I'm down there, and Cuba's an hour away and it's extremely inexpensive. So, I wanted to do that. On today or Friday when this is being recorded, everybody was worried that Trump was going to, ban travel to Cuba again because, Obama basically lifted the travel ban, which had been in effect for 50 years. And so to be able to go down there and to embrace and experience the culture and to meet people and to see what it was really like, it was something I hate saying bucket list because I'm not trying to think I want to do it before I die. I want to do these things, when I can, as soon as I can. I want to plan them and do them. If there's something I want to do, I want to do it. But Cuba is something that's always been of significant interest to me. So to be able to go down to Cuba and to check it out, it was so cheap. It was $200. Right, so none of this stuff extravagant. I think the flight to Miami, even without miles, was only like $240, and besides that, I was driving everywhere. So all this stuff was done on a big time budget. This is all stuff the working men and women of this audience, of this world, of this community. This is all stuff you guys can go and do. This isn't like break the bank first class. No. This is coach on Southwest or Delta using Priceline for hotels. This is getting out there and hustling. And in terms of going from show to show, it's miles on the road. I don't do a lot of call-ins, but I like the human experience. So I put all my gear, all my podcast gear in the trunk of my car, and I drive my butt to wherever the show has to be. Was it Henry Aiken's or LA Jiu Jitsu Club? Any of the stuff you see in LA? That's me driving down for a day and driving on back. I live in San Jose, so I'm not spending a whole lot of money. So anybody aspiring to go out there and to be a journalist on your own, or a podcaster or a YouTuber, certainly within your ability to do so. And I would encourage it if it's something you want to do, or if it's not, that's cool. But when you do have that thing that you really want to do, I'd say put a pen to paper and start planning it out. Like, what do I need to accomplish that task? If it's a podcast, like, what do you need? Well, you need to talk, so you better start doing that quick, regardless of what technology you have. I'm not saying a USB microphone is the best way to do a podcast, but what I'm saying is if that's all your budget has, get yourself set up with a nice quiet room with, you can even film it in the closet, because I've heard the clothing actually does a good job of like absorbing background noise. So if all you have is a USB microphone, get it back there with a pair of headphones, maybe a laptop. There's microphones that plug right into the iPhone, and there's great voice recording software you can get from the App Store for either Apple iPhones or iPod touches, I guess, and then also the Android products. So if that's all you got, if all you have is a computer, just USB mic, just start recording. Get used to talking. It's gonna suck at first. It's supposed to. It's just like you always hear about stand-up comedians talking, that when they first got on stage, they ate shit. You're supposed to. You're not going to understand success until you really embrace the failures, until you get really good at failing and understand why you fail. So the best thing you can do is just start. And in terms of equipment, what to use, I could do another show on that. I could do another video on exactly what to buy, what not to buy. I'll tell you right now, the H4n Pro from Zoom is my voice recorder of choice. It's so versatile. I use it in the studio. I use it on the road. I use it just to stick in people's faces like a microphone on the spot for interviews, because it has lots of ways to record. It records right to micro SD. It works on batteries. It works over the, if you plug it into the wall, AC, all that stuff, and you can plug it right into your mixer in the studio. So Zoom H4n Pro, that's your pro tip for podcasters out there. And beyond that, there's tons of good mics, there's tons of good mixers, but the main thing is just to get the reps in, start talking, get used to really going and kicking ass, and just feeling comfortable, finding your voice, right? A lot of people go and like, well, I listen to Howard Stern, I listen to Joe Rogan, or I listen to Tim Ferriss, they listen to all these different people. Then they go out and they just try to emulate those people, and they try to talk like those people. And there's one Joe Rogan. I don't want to hear other Joe Rogan shows. I want to hear Joe Rogan, because that's him. His delivery, his experience, his comedy, his wit, how quick he is, his insight, how much he reads, and that's one dude. Howard Stern, same deal. Different generation, but same deal. I don't want to hear Howard Stern light or Howard Stern diet or whatever you want to call it. I want to hear the real deal. I want to hear Howard Stern. And if you're out there and if you have it in you and you want to do this, I want to hear you, not who you're influenced by. Don't emulate someone else. Don't be someone else. And we're all a little bit guilty of it, right? You sit there and listen to Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast for, a couple hours or whatever once a week. Then all of a sudden you're saying, oh, hell yeah. And you're calling it Los Angeles instead of Los Angeles. Shout out to Stone Cold. I love his podcast. I love it. I used to live in Texas. And I'm a pro wrestling fan. So his show is one of my favorites. I like Jim Ross's show too. So, but I'm not going to come out here and yell Boomer Sooner or, and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said, because that's their stuff. So if you're going to do it, find your voice, find, do what makes you happy, be yourself. That's sort of the best advice I could give to anybody thinking about doing this. Besides that, visit Cuba. It's a cool place, right? If you're going to visit Cuba again, you need a visa. You can get it at the airport. It's cheaper if you get it online. Southwest, Fort Lauderdale to Havana, Cuba. That's the way to go. Airbnb is a great way to do things when you're there. Hotels are expensive. If I was staying at a nice one, I'd stay at the Hotel Copacabana just because it's historic. Anyway, you want to get down to Old Havana and check everything out. And don't bring U.S. dollars. Trade them in for euros at your bank or at a currency exchange, not the airport one. But before your trip, trade in your dollars for euros before you go. That's your pro tip. You get podcasting pro tip. You get a travel to Cuba pro tip. So of your friends right now, look around the room, sign a hand, show hands right now. Which one of your friends have been to Havana, Cuba, right? So in my group, I'm that guy. So you could be that guy or girl in your group. So, be safe, right? Go in a group, follow the law, research the laws, make sure you're doing the right stuff. But as a journalist, as of the time that I went, it was totally fine. And there was no problem going to or coming back across the border. Wasn't, anything crazy. It was just my proof of concept was, could a journalist go and take a short trip down there, document what they're doing, meet who they're trying to meet, interview who they're trying to interview, make some videos, take some pictures, whatever. Is that possible to do in a short-term piece of business there? And the answer unequivocally is yes, in my experience anyway. I believe it is yes. I went, I did it, I have videos, pictures, blah, blah, blah. They're on Instagram, at Clint Cronin. I really don't post as much on at Clint Cronin Show, but I tend to put some of the show graphics on there. So follow me on Instagram. I want to hear some feedback from you guys. I'm on Twitter as well. Tweet me, Instagram me, comments, suggestions, guests you might want to hear on here, because I'm in this jiu-jitsu world, but I've got lots of interests. I want to learn. I'm out here making friends and learning. I'm wrong all the time, and I have no problem admitting that. I have no problem admitting that sometimes I'm just wrong, and it's okay. It's okay to be wrong, because that means you learn, right? It's if you're wrong repeatedly and you do nothing about it, that's when you start having a problem. That's when you start having some conflict. So, again, if you have anything you want to shout out or whatever, just let me know. And otherwise, it's been a fun time. I had so much fun training with the Valente Brothers over in North Miami Beach. They do things a little bit differently, right? So they're stand up in their training. It's more of self-defense for jiu-jitsu. So the Valente Brothers, for people that don't know, they originally were students of the Gracie. Their father was a student of the original Gracie Academy in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, I guess in the 50s. And the three brothers, received their black belts from Elio Gracie himself. The families have always been really tight, and when they moved to the United States, they decided they wanted to go the more self-defense route, and they had Elio Gracie's blessing, and you'll hear more about this, but essentially there is striking, there's takedowns, there's striking defense, there's even some weapon disarming stuff, so it's a little bit different. It isn't sport jiu-jitsu, but you do roll. There is sparring, and they're tough. They have a great pressure game. It was really cool. I had trained just previously before that with Henry Aikens' guys over there at Dynamics MMA in Santa Monica in Los Angeles, California. And there was some, pretty strong comparisons can be made about how pressure is used in the ground stuff, right? Because we didn't do stand-up over at Dynamics, not when I was there anyway. I don't know, but of course it's an MMA gym, they do stand-up, but I mean in the jiu-jitsu portion under Henry, the techniques trained weren't stand-up in nature. So there's a lot of similar pressure stuff, a lot of nuances just in terms of just efficiency and motion, efficiency and how basically body movement is done, just from the way Henry opens the guard, right? A lot of guys, have a lot more step to their guard openings, and Henry's able to frame and use his weight and use the idea of just pressure and positioning and angles in such an efficient way where you look at him open the guard and it looks like, man, that wouldn't work. As a black belt, I'm like, no, that wouldn't work. And he does it to you, and your legs are on fire just trying to keep your darn guard closed, because this guy's, he's just so darn efficient. He's so darn good with pressure and with his technique. So Henry Akins, he was just in the show last week. That's a gym I definitely recommend you go and check it out as well. It's in Los Angeles. If you're in that sort of Santa Monica area, that's definitely a place you have to check out. It's an open door policy. So as everyone knows, or you might know by now, I'm a One World Jiu-Jitsu black belt. One World Jiu-Jitsu, we're under Guerrilla Jiu-Jitsu, which is half Gracie to Dave Camarillo type lineage. So I'm under Mike Prudencio, and we have what I'm proud to call the biggest sort of open mat in the Bay Area. Every Sunday night at 5:30 p.m. There's darn near 50 to 100 people in there, and I wish that was exaggerated. It's a whole thing. It's special. It's something we have in the Bay Area where people come from all over the Bay to get together. No politics. Doesn't matter who you're affiliated with, who your coach is. Everybody comes in, from world champion caliber black belts like Christina Barlan of Clint Cronin Show fame, to all kinds of people. It's just really some great talent that comes in there, great people. And with that jiu-jitsu family lifestyle, the way we do it, it's just a special thing. So I'm really happy to be a part of that. So that one world mentality where Dave Camarillo under Guerrilla Jiu-Jitsu, our sort of master, right? He always says train with everyone, right? Train with everybody. You see his book out there, and if you don't have it, you should get it, because Dave's the man, and he says a lot of really smart stuff. He's got an awesome podcast too, Position Impossible, which I'm hoping everybody by now is subscribing to as well. He's had some just absolute amazing guests, and he's got a really great philosophical mind. He's a really intelligent, jiu-jitsu legend, and someone we're proud to call our leader of the pack. It's Mike's instructor, and by proxy it's mine as well. And so a lot of the lessons that I have picked up, in jiu-jitsu and otherwise have, either come directly or trickle down through Dave. So a lot of mad respect to Dave Camarillo and his co-host and fellow black belt Matt Darcy, the head of Guerrilla Jiu-Jitsu San Jose and Pleasanton respectively. But yeah, they also have that open door policy. I digress a few topics back. Guerrilla Jiu-Jitsu, right? Train with everybody, but Dynamics MMA, it's the same thing. He has Henry and the crew over there have pretty much an open door policy. Anyone can come in there, drop in, whatever the mat fee is, pay for classes, whatever, and he welcomes you with open arms. And his instruction quality is top notch, world class caliber, 3rd degree black belt under Hicks and Gracie. The guy's just awesome. So if you're in that area, definitely check that out. And before that, obviously, Los Angeles Jiu-Jitsu Club, which is pretty close to Jean-Jacques Machado's academy. Both places can't miss. Eric Medina and Joey House over there at LA Jiu-Jitsu Club. They're in the suburbs with this awesome house with a pool, and the entire living room is mats. So they do seminars. You can stay there like an Airbnb type deal, like a fighter house, but Ultimate Fighter House, but for jiu-jitsu in the LA suburbs. You can take the classes, the jiu-jitsu classes they have there at the LA Jiu-Jitsu Club, or you can head on over to Jean-Jacques Machado's, one of the best instructors in the world in jiu-jitsu, hands down, and just a great guy to know and to be around. He's such a positive, just a warm, knowledgeable, amazing instructor, and you see that caliber of coming out of his students as well. just the type of people you meet, from the Eddie Bravos and the Joe Rogans to Eric Acha, who's been on the show as well, the owner of Peninsula Self-Defense. You see the caliber of human beings that are coming out of there, and the level of character, because this is Jean-Jacques Machado. This is what he lays down, and it's what it's the type of thing he does, right? So anyway, been rocking and rolling for about a half an hour now. I want to talk a little bit more about Azoth again. Remember, seekingazoth.com, promo code Cronin. You'll be able to rock and roll and run your mouth this much on a podcast just like this. Promo code Cronin, Cronin. Again, it's nootropic. It's a brain supplement. Azoth. Get smarter, be faster. Some other tagline that involves brain function that I definitely have because I use this stuff. Believe in it, and it's caffeine free, but it's not stimulant free. You'll be awake. You'll be running on all 8, 6, or 4 cylinders, depending on the type of engine in your car. It's not a car thing; it's a brain thing. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, seekingazoth.com. Get smarter. Get your ass in gear. Promo code Cronin, Cronin. And without further ado, we've got the one, the only Pedro Valente of Valente Brothers Jiu Jitsu out of North Miami Beach, Florida. Thank you again for doing the show. Thank you again for everyone for listening. Please share, subscribe, tell your friends. If everybody listens, tells one friend, and they all tell one friend, we're all going to be this huge group of friends. And then we'll hang out and do stuff. It'll be awesome. Anyway, rock and roll, peace and love. Thank you again for listening. And without further ado, for a second time, Pedro Valente, Valente Brothers Jiu Jitsu. Thank you. Episode number 45 in North Miami Beach, Florida. Pedro Valente of Valente Brothers Jiu Jitsu. Man, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for coming here.
Oh man, this is mind blowing. This is a beautiful gym. As soon as I got here, albeit a little bit late, you guys are right on the ball. You had this is a very big place. You can't see obviously from the video. We'll do some shots before you go. But it was a very full class. You guys were going into some stand-up work, starting in the clinch, working some takedowns and ending up on the ground at the end. I love the structure. You guys are well known for the self-defense aspect of jiu-jitsu, and I'd like to hear a little bit about the history of that, and sort of because what you see most prevalent right now online, the YouTubes, the Facebooks, whatever, is sport. But you guys are focused more in terms of self-defense and the actual jiu-jitsu, the roots of the sport, of the art. So could you give me a little history lesson just for the viewers out there?
Yes, my brothers and I here, I work with my 2 brothers, Gui Valente and Joaquim Valente, without whom I would not be able to do what I currently do. They have been an amazing help, and they have been an integral part of everything that happens here. But the 3 of us were very, very fortunate, very blessed to have 2 incredible mentors. Firstly, Grandmaster Hélio Gracie. Our relationship with Grandmaster Hélio was not only of student and teacher, but he was like a grandfather to us, and he treated us that way because of the relationship that he already had with 2 generations of our family before us. He taught both our grandfather and our father. He treated us like family. You know, when we slept in his house in the mountains of Rio, he would tuck us in before we went to sleep. He would wake us up, bring us smoothies, and really was an integral part in our education on the mat and off the mat. And we are eternally grateful for how he treated us, for all the love, for all the care. And that access that we had to him is what inspired us to do everything we do here. In addition to his mentorship, we have to mention our father's role. Our father came from a different perspective, because even though he fought in public, he was not a professional fighter.
Sure.
Even though he taught some classes, he was not a professional teacher. Our father was a medical doctor, a surgeon, and so he approached jiu-jitsu from the view of a student who was mostly interested in Jiu-Jitsu's amazing effectiveness as an art of self-defense. And my father happened to be around the Academia Gracie in the 1950s. More precisely at the time when Carson Gracie was fighting, under the tutelage of his uncle, Grandmaster Hélio Gracie, and his father, Grandmaster Carlos Gracie. Grandmaster Hélio Gracie more on the technical side on the mat, and Grandmaster Carlos Gracie more as a mentor, a spiritual leader, somebody who was a visionary and an amazing advisor. And my father was around that time. He participated in that time, and he really learned Jiu-Jitsu as a complete art of fighting. There was an emphasis on the stand-up in addition to the ground. Some people, when they think of our style of Jiu-Jitsu, they think of self-defense, and they immediately think of stand-up self-defense only. And as you saw today, we do plenty on the ground as well, grappling. The grappling element is something that is one of the focuses of our program. We do spar on the ground. We do a lot of live training on the ground, but not only ground. To us, the striking techniques are very important. That's something that our father encouraged from a very early age. My brothers, for example, were training in striking techniques at the age of 4 years old. This is something that Grandmaster Hélio and our father really encouraged, and something that we were taking actually boxing classes that young, and something we always did. Throwing techniques. Also, my father thought that it was very important that we were well versed in throwing techniques. He saw that Grandmaster Pedro used to have amazing throws. And so he wanted us to get that, because at a time where most of the instruction was done in private classes, then Grandmaster Pedro was able to see which students needed what parts of Jiu-Jitsu the most. Maybe he focused more on the stand-up self-defense with some others he felt that it was important for them to learn more the striking, the throwing, but in the group classes, some of those stand-up elements were not being taught so much. So our father wanted us to be well-rounded, and so we trained some judo to be able to learn the throw. So we've been preparing ourselves our entire lives to be able to give to our students a complete fighting system with a focus on the self-defense, and I think that's one of the secrets to our success.
Yeah, you certainly have success. This is an awesome location. The students are all very hungry. They're all very, they're very well versed. They're all very well rounded. Everybody I rolled with, they had very good pressure, like very, very good pressure. I've been training with a lot of kind of Gracie-based guys lately. I was with the Henry Aikens guys we were talking earlier last week, and again, it's a lot of pressure and a lot of why are we doing this? Like why, right? We discussed a little bit before we got started, kind of the why that isn't asked in lots of places, and without naming academy names because I don't do that. I feel like it's something. Maybe the YouTube or the wow, did you see that move? It got all these views on YouTube. We obviously want to promote and blah blah blah. It's a business, but I feel like why isn't asked, and a lot of techniques that are taught in academies and a lack of maybe continuity or structure is something that I think scares people away from jiu-jitsu. You start a class, you go in as a new student, and they're showing some random lapel guard thing. It looks cool. It looks pretty cool, but you don't have an opportunity to ask why, because you would never sit and question the instructor as a blue belt or purple belt something. But I think the why is not asked. Like, why are we doing this? So your father having a surgeon's perspective and as a student's perspective, this is like a very scientific thought process. Like, okay, what is the 10,000 foot view? If we zoom out from this picture, why are we doing these things? Like, are we just selling the people some random techniques, or are we trying to accomplish some larger goal? Like, we mentioned, I saw the way we were setting up the clinch earlier. You don't want to do it from the grip here because, again, real life, you get punched in the face in real life. So Correct. You're trying to protect your face. The way you attach, if you're using 2-on-1 on something, you want to make sure your head is protected. And I feel this is lost in a lot of jiu-jitsu, and competition's cool. I can't watch a lot of gi matches in a row. Sure. I'll be coaching teammates, students, whatever. If it's a friend or something like that, I'll watch their matches. But I was just at Worlds, and this is World Championships. I can't Just the way the point system is designed, there's a lot of nothing happening, a lot of gaming the rules. Like my favorite thing I see now is you'll have two opponents. They will shake hands. Purple. I see this with purple belts a lot, and I'm not knocking purple belts. These are like the purple belts of this generation are like the black belts of some previous generation. These guys are talented as hell in terms of applying dynamic moves and things. They know how to get it done. However, one technique I see they do a lot, or one strategy for the competition, is they will shake hands, bump fists, and then take 2 big steps backwards. I see it a lot in absolute division, because the way the rules are set up now is if you're taken down and if your feet go over that warning area, no points. So it's a smaller guy with a bigger guy. He's going to let himself get taken down over and over, no points, and now his guy's tired. At the end, he'll get his advantage and win. I see it countless times in tournaments now, and it's because there's no stalling rules on the feet like this. And they shake hands, let's start the match, then take 2 steps back, and they play the perimeter the whole time. Yeah. What fight is that?
Yeah, the thing is that there are 2 types of focuses. Some schools, they focus on tournaments, and I think there's nothing wrong with that, as long as they're very clear as to what is the objective of their training. I am somebody who admires any athlete who dedicates him or herself to a sport and hopefully becomes healthier through that sport, develops positive habits, and does something that they like.
Sure.
Who am I to criticize something like that? Our focus, though, is different. We want to give students what they're looking for when they come here. And most of them are looking for ways to defend themselves in a real fight. They want to make sure that they're not going to get punched in the face if someone is angry at them in a parking lot or in a bar dispute. Most of the students who come here, I hope all of the students who come here, are not people who are looking for fights. But they understand that sometimes the fight might look for you, and you have to be ready. And so we want to give them the tools, the specific tools, to make sure that they're ready for a real confrontation. Standing up, because all fights start standing up. And if the fight goes to the ground, they will be ready for that as well. Unfortunately, because of the sport focus, even in Brazil, and this is something that it's unimaginable for most people, especially 10, 20, 30 years ago. Unfortunately, in Brazil right now, when a lot of people look for self-defense, they don't look for jiu-jitsu. They'll look for other styles of martial arts, because they walk into a jiu-jitsu school, they see everybody training from their knees. They don't see any answers, any solutions to the common problems that they have in their heads. How do I defend against a punch? How do I deal with somebody who tries to stab me with a knife? How do I deal with the common street situations that happen in bars and parking lots? If those problems are not being solved, if those answers are not being provided to the students' questions, then they're going to look for other places. And that's happening. And so that's why we felt back in 1999, we felt that it was so important for us to focus our classes on self-defense. And that's when we developed our curriculums. That's when we developed our method. And we were so honored and so humbled that Grandmaster Hélio Gracie gave us his full support in the development of this method for group class instruction and how to teach the full Jiu-Jitsu program, the original Jiu-Jitsu program, in a group class setting. And not only for the adults, but also for the children. And so, because of his support, because of his encouragement, we were able to bring about some important contributions to Jiu-Jitsu. For example, the children's belt system.
Yes.
Right? It used to be only white, yellow, orange, and green.
Yep.
And so we added 6 more belts because children need that reward. And now we see that all schools of Jiu-Jitsu are using more belts. The way we teach the class, some of the drills, some of the things we learn in judo, the break falls, some of the exercises, parents love that method, and we've had so much success, fortunately, by making some of those changes. In the group classes, having a solid curriculum for the introduction to Jiu-Jitsu, the 27-lesson program.
This is huge.
Fighting foundations, which is a good balance between ground fighting and stand-up fighting, including the stand-up self-defense against surprise attacks, including the striking techniques, giving students basic notions of striking, of throwing techniques, and the grappling and the ground. And then at the advanced level, specializing a little more, making sure that our students know how to strike, know how to throw, know how to fight on the ground, and they really feel prepared that they can defend themselves. And we are very, very happy now to see that more and more instructors are talking about self-defense, teaching self-defense. But it's important to remember that in order to do that, we must do it proficiently. Yes. We prepared ourselves our entire lives to be able to teach Jiu-Jitsu as a complete fighting system, learning all the elements throughout our lives from childhood. Because sometimes, and we have seen this with the other martial arts, because of the boom of the UFC, karate schools wanted to teach Jiu-Jitsu. So the instructor goes and takes a 1-week Jiu-Jitsu course, and then now they're Jiu-Jitsu instructor. That's not good. That's going to weaken their style.
It's also extremely dangerous.
Dangerous?
For students, for everyone.
Irresponsible.
It's dangerous. Very much.
So it's important that the Jiu-Jitsu instructors who want to teach the self-defense, because the truth is that most Jiu-Jitsu instructors, their preparation, their development in Jiu-Jitsu, from white to blue to purple to brown to black, was based on preparation for tournaments.
Yeah.
Very tough training, and I'm not taking anything away from that. But that's the truth. They were preparing for grappling tournaments. So they did not spend enough time learning how to teach the self-defense, even how to do those moves, the striking, the throwing, the grappling for self-defense. And so it's important, I think, that all these instructors prepare themselves to be able to do it correctly and to be able to do it with conviction, with confidence. And we hope that we have open doors to the entire Jiu-Jitsu community for them to come here. That's why it was so important to us to build a Jiu-Jitsu building which is dedicated to the preservation of the roots of Jiu-Jitsu. And hopefully people are going to come here and they can learn about the history, they can learn about some of the other elements of Jiu-Jitsu and how to teach Jiu-Jitsu as an art of self-defense, standing up and on the ground.
Yeah, I feel like instructor training in general is something that would be a big help to many academies across the country, the world, just as much, right? But because with sport, nobody wants to be told what they're doing is a game. Nobody, because there are set rules. There's a safe word. And we have this throughout sport, throughout self-defense, fine, even MMA. But nobody wants to be told it's a game. Nobody wants to be told, look, from your knees, you are already at a terrible deficiency in terms of position versus your attacker's probably not going to be on his knees shaking your hand. Maybe. I don't know what you're doing in the bar, but probably not, right? So, but nobody wants to be told what they're doing is like missing some pieces. So, it stays splintered, down one path or another.
I see a trend. I see something changing. I see some of the new generation Jiu-Jitsu practitioners being very honest, saying, I don't teach self-defense.
Yeah.
I teach grappling. I teach a sport.
Sure.
And I think that's refreshing, that they can be honest about what they're teaching. And then if they recognize a need to include self-defense in their schools, then hopefully they will get the proper preparation to be able to do that.
So the introductory or the beginners of the fundamental course, the 27 lessons taught. This is the fundamental 27 lessons taught even back the original Gracie days, like the original from Elio, basically.
Yes, Grandmaster Elio, he taught this program in private classes.
Yes,
at the Academia Gracie originally. Used to be 36 classes, then it went to 40 classes, but in those classes, privately, one-on-one, you would learn the move of the day. If you're taking lesson 7, you learn the lesson 7 moves, and you would review from 1 through 6. And it was a very precise method that they used. But they felt that could not be replicated in a group class because people come at different times, and how do you review the old moves if people learn different things and there's no sequence? So when I first started teaching, the group classes, for example, in Brazil, there were group classes 3 times a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7:30 p.m. And it was mostly grappling training. You did a 30-minute warm-up, calisthenics, basically. Then a few techniques were taught, mostly ground grappling techniques, based on tournament fighting. Then some drills, some positional training, and then sparring starting from the knees. So in the group format, nobody was learning the stand-up self-defense, the other elements of Jiu-Jitsu, only the grappling. We didn't like that. And we talked about that to Grandmaster Ed. And he gave us the green light. My father also participated in that process, talked to him, and he gave us the green light to try to come up with a system to be able to do that in a group format. And he gave us his full support. And so my brothers and I, we put our brains to work, and we came up with this system where in the first 15 minutes, the student reviews, and there's a whole process behind that, a whole pedagogy on how to teach this complete program in a group format. And we introduced that. Grandmaster Edo came. He would come every year to Miami, sometimes more than once a year, spend 2 weeks with us in our home, coming to the school every single day, spending the whole day at our school. And he was delighted. He was fascinated with our program. He really, really liked it, and he started recommending it to his students. And that's where the program was taught for the first time in a group class format. Before, it was done, but only through private classes.
So this is 1999.
1999.
Here in Miami, North Miami Beach.
Yes.
So you've got this, and there's one other affiliate or another school.
Actually, here in South Florida, we have our school, our headquarters here in North Miami Beach, and we also have Coral Gables, we have Pembroke Pines, we have Fort Lauderdale, and we have other black belts who are affiliated to us. We also have a school in Guatemala, a Valente Brothers school in Guatemala, and we have other black belts who went up the ranks in our school and now teach in their schools. And little by little, this is growing, but we believe that the process of preparing an instructor is one that takes a long time. It's not only about that instructor's ability to transmit the techniques, but it's also that instructor understanding the culture and the philosophy of Jiu-Jitsu and being able to represent that, becoming a positive role model for the students, and that takes time.
Yeah, it's never good, seeing on any sort of press where jiu-jitsu instructor is doing something wrong, or like, so you see a lot of these guys now coming up, and it's good to be careful. I know IBJJF does background checks at least, but it's good to see that people have, as they matriculate through the belt ranking, that their character is being observed, and is this a good person? Is this somebody we want representing our academy? Yeah,
background checks are important, but even more important than that is time spent with a person.
Yes.
2 years, 5 years, 10 years, that person. That's the journey from white belt to black belt to instructorship. And so we really believe in that, in knowing someone for years. That was what we learned from Grandmaster Ed. After becoming a black belt, it would take an average of 6 to 7 years to to receive his professor's diploma.
Sure.
Because he wanted to see how you worked, how you related to your students, what type of role model you were. He had a report card with all the criteria. And one of them was technique. There were 20, but most of them were elements in moral virtue. And that was extremely important to him because he understood the responsibility that jiu-jitsu instructors had and how much impact they would have on their students' lives.
Oh, it's very substantial. Just that someone's of good moral character is huge. And this isn't free, This is you don't just run into somebody once in a blue moon and say, oh, it's a good guy, because anyone's capable of anything. And when times change and they get hard, knowing that, okay, this person, how do they respond to pressure? How do they respond in desperate times? Like, are they still this person? So,
exactly. Even with all of this, people can still make mistakes and do bad things. But I think that with this process that we have, we minimize the chances, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that if somebody is going to teach Jiu-Jitsu under the Valente Brothers, we know that person very, very well. We've known them for years, and we know that they understand not just the techniques, our complete system, but also the culture and the philosophy of Jiu-Jitsu. That's very important to us.
I feel like the system is a critical part of it because you can go to, say, one gym, like maybe some very famous gym, and then, okay, it's good. Everything's solid. They do what they say they do. The instructor is great instructor, best guy. Then you go to an affiliate, and it's a totally different world, totally different place. So by having the system, I feel it's good. There's a good groundwork where okay, I can expect this from Valente Brothers. So this quality of lesson, this type of like continuity from one place to another, I feel it's a really important piece. So we were talking a little bit earlier, just about coming in from Brazil. So you guys came over here, what year? It was 99 when we
I
opened.
came in 1993.
93.
The reason why my brothers and I came was to attend American universities.
Okay.
I was the first one. I'm the oldest. So as soon as I graduated high school, I came. I studied at the University of Miami. I got my bachelor's and my master's degree in business administration from the University of Miami. My second brother, Guy, he was the second one. As soon as he graduated high school, he came. Also attended American universities. Also got his master's degree in sports management, which is perfect for what we do. And our youngest brother, Joaquin, also came when he graduated high school. Also got his degree from a university here, Barry University, in criminology.
Oh, wow.
Which is also important because we work extensively, not only with law enforcement, but also with military. And that was an important degree, really to help us with providing the best possible service to the law enforcement community and to the military community. We're extremely proud to be able to work with them and honored that they choose us to provide training in hand-to-hand combat.
So the military thing is huge. I've had instructors and friends that have gone over and worked with the troops pretty extensively. The thing I'm hearing most about now, and I'm talking to a lot of ex-military veterans that are coming back, is the PTSD thing. And I read an article recently that they believe that jiu-jitsu may actually help with PTSD as a therapy type thing. I find it really interesting. I see a lot of people like Mission 22, you know, the people doing 22 push-ups in remembrance of all the veteran suicides every year. So it's cool to see the guys in the jiu-jitsu community working with the veterans, working with the military.
Yes, for sure. I'm a firm believer in that. I do believe that jiu-jitsu can have a very positive impact, a therapeutic effect on people's lives. I think it can help people with PTSD, and that's one of the most rewarding work that we can do, because who's more deserving? I really believe that the men and women who serve our country and who protect our freedoms, they are the real warriors in our society. They really represent the word warrior. And so for us to be able to give back to them in any way, shape, or form is a huge honor, and we're super happy to be able to do that with several different branches of the United States military, and as you know, anytime we have a chance to do that, we do it.
I feel some of the unsung heroes of the police in the United States. I'm a big fan of the police. I like to know that they are there. They keep. I think the law is one of the greatest, advancements.
Yeah.
In
all of us are fans of the police when things get ugly and we have to call 911. So I think that we should not only be fans of them when we have to call 911, but all the time. Obviously, as in any profession, some make mistakes. That's human. But the vast majority of the men and women in blue are amazing heroes, and they should be always appreciated by all of us.
I think they should have the same respect the people defending us abroad do as the one, because they're us. They're here now.
Correct.
They're paying the same taxes. They're living in the same houses, eating the same food, in the same traffic we're in every day at work, going to work. I hope that improves. And I think jiu-jitsu training for them is critical. All the things you see on the internet, and God knows there's a lot with the accidents that happen, or even the bad eggs, the things that shouldn't happen ever. It's down to lack of training. But again, people criticize very easily the things, the decisions that the police do under pressure. They don't realize that with a police officer, there is always a gun in play. Every time a police officer pulls someone over, there's already a gun in play. It's his. And if they're disarmed by somebody, it's over. So they have to assume, okay, this situation, there is a gun. There is, every time. It just because it's on their belt doesn't mean they can't have it taken from them.
Yeah, it's very upsetting sometimes to look at TV, network shows, on the media, and they have these so-called experts, legal pundits, giving their opinion. And you look at them and you see that these are people who have never been in a fight in their lives. They have no idea how it feels to be in a situation like that where your life is on the line, and they're the first ones to point their fingers and criticize the police. And it's almost like I want to see what you would have done in that situation when your life was on the line. You've never been in a situation like that to be able to speak that way. So not everybody has to do that type of work, and not everybody has to be in that type of situation, but at least have the common sense and the human decency not to criticize things that you haven't seen and that you haven't been through.
Yeah, this is one thing of culture on the internet in general that I don't like. It's the comments, everybody, you see any post online, and I'm trying to be off the internet as much as possible.
Yeah.
I like to create something and then put it out there, and I can't sit there and argue with people. And
that's why your show is so good, because it's positivity in a sea of negativity, because unfortunately the internet has a lot of negativity. So people who are contributing to the internet by posting positive podcasts and information as you are, they, I think, are providing a huge contribution to society.
I tried to just be reasonable, and I realized that in this world it's a very complex place, and perspective is so important, and there's more and than or. There's more commas than periods. There's more things where it's this and this, as opposed to this or this. Like, everybody wants to be divisive or polarizing and get their videos online and have 1 million, 10 million people watch them. But for what? What substance is there? Just to shock people? What is the use in that? That's all that you see now. The only things people look at are things that are worse than the last thing. It's more surprising, more crazy than the last thing. They make movies making fun of this. There's one, I think, called Idiocracy, and it was made 10 years ago. I think the guys that made, I think Mike Judge or one of these, it's supposed to be a comedy movie, basically showing that they go to the future and society is deteriorated so bad that the world is like one big reality show. And then 10 years later, it's so many parallels to this movie are here. It's like, it's terrible.
It's incredible.
The things, like, people, they worship fame, like they believe like the celebrity is the new god or something.
Yeah.
And it's very scary.
But that's why it's so important for people like us to provide a positive message, to be able, through the internet, through media, to always put something positive out there.
Yeah.
Because it can help people, and hopefully this trend of positivity and healthy values, and that which represent the essence of jiu-jitsu. Because one of the things that we do, a lot of people talk about some of our innovations. They say, well, but you guys are not only traditional, you guys are always innovating and introducing new things. But every little thing that we introduce is based on the profound research that we do on the roots of jiu-jitsu. Not just the roots of our teachers, Grandmaster Pedro, Gracie, and jiu-jitsu in Brazil, but even beyond that. Even before that, in Japan. For example, the philosophy of jiu-jitsu, even the nutrition aspect, has been an integral part of jiu-jitsu since before it came to Brazil. I have a book by Mitsuyo Maeda, who brought jiu-jitsu to Brazil, and he says that the nutrition, the diet, healthy eating habits are an integral part of the jiu-jitsu philosophy. So I think that saying no to drugs and alcohol is part of the jiu-jitsu philosophy. Being close to your friends and family, creating a bond with people who think like you and who are positive and who are on a mission to get themselves better, that's part of jiu-jitsu. Being benevolent, being generous, helping other people, being of service to your fellow human being, that is jiu-jitsu. It's not just about fighting. And this beautiful philosophy of moral virtue, of emotional balance, of being able to take care of your body and of yourself, of having mental independence, self-reliance, true freedom, where we don't need any substance, mind-altering substances to be able to sleep well at night, where we can do it on our own by being the master of our minds instead of the slave of our emotions and our desires. All these things are part of the jiu-jitsu philosophy. We're not making this up. This has been a part of the jiu-jitsu philosophy even before. This comes from the samurai warriors. And for us to be able to share this with our students is very special, very humbling, and something that we will continue to do, continue to research, continue to study. And based on this research, based on this study, we're going to continue to improve our program so that our students can get the best possible information and training that we can provide.
It's beautiful. It's innovation, but based on legacy, based on hundreds and thousands of years
Correct.
of shared human experience, and actually taking the time to read the text, to understand why are we doing this,
Correct.
why. So it's a beautiful thing. It's special, and man, it's how much time are we on? I kept you so late, man. Got a half an hour.
We're good. Yeah, whatever you need.
Man, well, so if people here want to compete, is there a path to do this, or are they on their is there coaching available for competition?
The way I see it is the same as if one of our students wants to compete in swimming.
Sure.
I'm not going to tell them not to. They can do whatever they want in their own personal time. But what I do say is that what they're training here is not for that. So don't expect to be able to use the training that they get here in competition, because that's not what we teach. And most of our students understand that. And I think if they were looking for competition, they would be in other schools. And there's some great schools in the area that they can go to in order to pursue that objective. It has happened a few times in the past, and we have encouraged that, but it's not the norm. The vast majority of our students, I would say all the students that we have now, they understand that to split the focus between sport and self-defense is not the most effective way to go. I think that people should choose. If you like the sport, then go at it 100%. Dedicate yourself to it, because the sport now is so developed that people who are trying to do both are not going to be effective in the sport. They have to dedicate themselves 100% to the sport. It's so competitive that if they're trying to practice knife defenses, gun defenses, punching, kicks, throws, that's not going to help them win tournaments. And so they have to focus on the point system and focus on winning, because that's what the objective of competition is, winning. Now, if they want to do self-defense, then the focus should be 100% self-defense, should be in trying to learn how to survive a street confrontation. And that's the focus that our students have in our school. I never say that one is better than the other. They're just different. But I do believe that trying to do both at the same time is not the best way to go. I
know for sure in a self-defense situation, I've learned this, and I've learned lessons even as a kid the hard way, that whatever your response is needs to be automatic. It needs to be very simple. The techniques to defend a certain the attacker is coming, he has my neck. It needs to be something that's one step or two tops. It has to be dirt simple, and it can't be, okay, we're setting up this sweep, there are 10 techniques, you have to hip out this way, wrap my leg around, now hit back, and this isn't going to happen under pressure. And if it does, it's controlled. It's the sport. But in self-defense, the stakes are higher. I believe the techniques have to be much more simple, much more something you can go to, and it's right there. Because a lot of people say, oh, the Valente Brothers don't compete. I don't think that's right. We do compete. Competition is very, very important to us, because without competition, you cannot grow. If you looked at our sparring class today, you had a chance to participate. Yeah. That's competition. Guys are competing with each other. It's a very competitive training, right? There's a misconception that at Valente Brothers we don't roll, we don't spar. We do, as you saw today. No, we roll plenty. And that's an important part of what we do. And we also have some opportunities for these students to compete with pressure, with an audience. We have challenges that we put together, team challenges, where they actually go at each other, grappling-wise, 100%, with everybody watching, with an audience, because that's important to be able to deal with those butterflies, with those jitters. And our students get the opportunity to do that. The difference is that their number one objective is not to win that match. It's to improve their fighting skills. The sparring is a tool, one tool out of many that we use to improve people's fighting abilities. My brother Guy used a great example last week to describe that. He said sparring on the ground, rolling, is like water. It's a nutrient. We all need water to survive. We all need sparring to be able to learn how to fight, because in sparring is when we can go at each other 100% because of the limitations. We're not hitting each other, so we can go at each other 100% live to be able to develop our skills under that kind of pressure. That's important. But if we only drink water, we die. We need other nutrients. So sparring is like water. It's a very important nutrient. It's
vital for surviving. Without sparring, you cannot really learn how to fight. But if you only do grappling, sparring on the ground, that's not enough. You need other tools, you need other elements. And in this school, we try to provide all these elements to our students.
I've heard a couple high-level competitors say that they don't drill, and it's the craziest thing in the world to me. I don't understand it. I think maybe I hear it misquoted, but I've heard more than a few people say they don't drill. They, rolling, I guess, whatever. But I just can't fathom growing in jiu-jitsu without drilling regularly, hard, repetitively.
Yeah, that's. I don't know exactly what they mean by that, because there's different ways to drill, and maybe they're thinking of a specific drill that they don't do. But drilling in one way or another is extremely important. But also you have to understand that in any sport, you have some phenoms.
Sure.
Some amazing athletes, and people also with great dedication to the sport who train and train and train. So they are amazing athletes. And an amazing athlete is going to do amazing things, whatever sport they choose. Sure. And an amazing athlete in any sport is going to be able to defend himself or herself in a fight. Right? If you take a basketball player, an NBA player, he's more likely than not going to win a fight against a regular person in the street. An NFL player.
Yeah.
Right? A rugby player. So any athlete has that ability. Our goal is to teach the people who are not athletes, people who work in other fields, people who don't have the time to train all day, to become so strong. Because some of the guys, people ask me, so do you think that the sport guys cannot defend themselves in the street? Most likely they can. As can other athletes in other sports, because they're so strong and so talented and so athletic that they're going to be amazingly difficult for anybody to beat them up, especially in a combat sport like jiu-jitsu or boxing or wrestling or judo.
Oh, yeah.
But that cannot be replicated by everyone. Not everyone has the time to become a professional athlete. So we want to provide something to our students that's based on technique and based on a formula that we got from Grandmaster Helio, where jiu-jitsu is truly for everyone, truly for all. Where everybody can learn jiu-jitsu and can learn what? What is jiu-jitsu? A method, a complete and efficient method of self-defense.
I'm glad to see striking incorporated. I don't see this in academies at all. For me, I'm just now getting back into boxing. So at my academy, way over few thousand miles across in California. I teach at 6:30 in the morning. So on the so this is the Wednesday, Fridays. Then Tuesday, Thursdays, we started adding in striking. So we got a boxing guy.
That's great.
He has 18 or 19 years experience teaching boxing. So he's teaching us boxing, teaching us kickboxing, and just realizing, okay, there's perspective here. What am I noticing? I'm noticing that this is how you take a punch properly. It's been a while. How does this apply to jiu-jitsu? Well, you see so many people, like non-wrestlers, a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, they go for singles, they go for doubles, but they look at the floor and they wind up at like a foot short every time. It's a contact with they don't want to be hit in the face. They haven't been hit in the face. I don't understand how you can expect to finish a takedown if you're afraid to get hit in the whole thing is using your head. So I think by adding this in, it adds perspective, because they say like a black belt that gets punched in the face is a brown belt, another punch, now he's a purple belt. So having this perspective, knowing how to deal with, having your hands up, dealing with somebody coming towards you from standing, this is huge.
Yeah, and that's so important. One of the things that we want to contribute to jiu-jitsu is, and once again, bringing it back to its roots, because if you look at the Webster Dictionary, what's the definition of the word jiu-jitsu?
Gentle art.
Yeah, but not just that. That's the translation from Japanese. But jiu-jitsu is a weaponless fighting system based on paralyzing blows, striking techniques, throws, and holds and grappling. So it's not something that we make. People saying, the Valentes are putting striking. Jiu-jitsu does not have striking. Sure it does. In Japanese, it's called atemi waza. Atemi waza, that's striking techniques. And that's something that is an integral part of jiu-jitsu in its original conception. Jiu-jitsu is not just grappling. Jiu-jitsu has strikes. And so we don't want our students to have to go to a boxing school to learn boxing. We don't want our students to have to go to a kickboxing school to learn kickboxing. There is a jiu-jitsu system of striking, which includes punches and elbow strikes and kicks and knee strikes. It's a complete striking system. And so we teach that to our students. We don't want our students to have to go to wrestling or judo schools, because throwing techniques and takedowns are an integral part of what we teach. And so to me, it's sad that students of jiu-jitsu are having to complement their fighting skills by going to other schools or by seeking instructors of other arts or combat sports. I believe jiu-jitsu is complete, and I believe that a student of jiu-jitsu should be well-rounded and able to operate in all the different stages of the fight.
So initially you had, so it's takiwaza, newaza, and
Tachiwaza is the throwing techniques.
Yes.
Newaza or katamewaza is the ground grappling, and then you have atemiwaza, which is the striking techniques. And you also have the goshin jutsu, which are the stand-up self-defense against surprise attacks, something that was greatly developed in the beginning of the 19th century. Because if you study our history, you will see that when jiu-jitsu came to the Western world, at the time of Mitsuyo Maeda, at the time of Yuki Otani, at the time of Taro Miyake, and so many Uenishi, so many amazing practitioners who started traveling around the world, because Jigoro Kano, once the samurai days were over with the Meiji Restoration, their new constitution, the samurai were outlawed. And jiu-jitsu was kind of in a limbo where what was to be done with this amazing art. With the new enlightenment in government, that's what Meiji Restoration means, enlightenment in government. They felt that jiu-jitsu was part of old Japan and uncivilized. And so Jigoro Kano played a very important role in organizing jiu-jitsu. He brought in the Butoko Kwai, the most important jiu-jitsu masters from around Japan. He got them together to create a unified curriculum and to organize jiu-jitsu for modern practice. And foreigners who came to Japan were becoming extremely interested in jiu-jitsu. And so Japan started exporting jiu-jitsu teachers. The Western world was absolutely fascinated with jiu-jitsu, with the wonders of jiu-jitsu as an art of self-defense. At around the same time, Japan beat Russia.
Yes.
Like David defeated Goliath. The small country, the small island defeated the giant Russia. And they attributed this amazing victory, military victory, to the strategy and the philosophy of jiu-jitsu. And so the entire world wanted to learn it. Even the president of the United States, Teddy Roosevelt,
yes,
he requested that Japan sent an instructor, and Jigoro Kano sent his right-hand man, Yamashita. He taught the president in the White House for 3 years, 3 times a week. The president, the first lady, and their children had jiu-jitsu classes in the White House. So the most important people in America, in Europe, in South America, around the world, were learning jiu-jitsu. And learning jiu-jitsu as what? As a sport? No. As an art of self-defense. They asked Teddy Roosevelt, what's the difference, President Teddy Roosevelt, what's the difference between jiu-jitsu and wrestling? He said, wrestling is a sport with rules as conventional as those of tennis. Jiu-jitsu is an art for survival and killing your opponent, disabling your opponent. So one is a sport, the other one is an art of fighting. Later, Jigoro Kano developed the sport of judo for the Olympics, and in Japan it took the turn towards sport. Carlos and Hélio Gracie, the original Gracie brothers, refused to embark in the sport journey, and they preserved jiu-jitsu as an art of fighting. Ironically, in the 60s, jiu-jitsu also became a sport in Brazil. Little by little, more and more attention was paid to the sporting aspect, to the grappling aspect, and little by little people stopped practicing the self-defense techniques and the elements of jiu-jitsu that are not part of sport competition, and we have made it our mission to bring all of this back.
this evolution is very interesting, as you mentioned, into the '60s. I wonder if any of the more public, the challenge matches, Kimura and Elio, and these larger ones that created a huge spectacle, the challenge matches from all over the world you heard about back in these times. I wonder if the result of these fights caused the promoters, the businessmen involved, to say, look, if we can do this more often, we can make a lot of money on this thing. Well, you can't. Under those circumstances, you can't put somebody through a full contact jiu-jitsu fight with striking, all this thing, when it's with deadly, type of force being used. How can you repeat this often? Well, okay, maybe if we remove some of the striking. Okay, well, maybe if we remove, okay, what if we just do it like this? We can do it once a month, once
Correct.
every 3 months. And this is
also the economic factor, as you said, I think played a vital role in jiu-jitsu becoming more of a sport. Because judo was becoming extremely popular in Brazil in the 1960s. And the jiu-jitsu community felt that by also creating a sport, they could have that same success of judo. And they also envisioned huge tournaments, as you have today, with great potential for making money, a great business opportunity. And so, in a way, they were not wrong. If you look at what the IBJJF has been able to achieve around the world, it has really grown exponentially, especially after the UFC. That boom created this opportunity, and they were able to capitalize with great competence. And yes. I think that jiu-jitsu has developed as a sport tremendously. And I see sometimes some criticism towards the sport by saying that the rules of the sport bring it away from its self-defense origins. But my humble opinion is that whenever you have rules, you're bringing it away. It doesn't matter what rules.
It's true.
Rules create a sport. Only in an environment without rules, you can simulate what happens in a street fight, because in a street fight, there's no rules. And whenever you don't have strikes in competition, people are going to take advantage of that to be able to put themselves in positions that in a fight they would get punched in their face, but in that tournament, in order to win, why not? Now, that's different, because people say, well, but when you train and you spar, when your students spar in your school, they're not striking each other. But that's different, because that's not for a medal. So they still see that as a tool. So they're not going to expose their faces because they're training to improve their fighting skills. But in a tournament, if you're fighting for the gold medal in the world championship, there's 3 minutes left. And to win the match, you're going to do a move that in a fight you would get punched in the face. But there's no punches in that tournament, so you don't have to worry about it. Wouldn't you do it? Sure they would. Because they're there to win under those rules, and I don't blame them for that. That's what they should do. So one thing is one thing, another thing is another thing. And I believe that people should choose their focus. And I think it's great that jiu-jitsu provides different venues for different people to enjoy it whatever way they want. I'm not here to tell people not to practice sport jiu-jitsu. Quite the contrary. I admire, and I have many friends who have been, and teachers who have been very successful in that world. And I take my hat off to them with respect. But I believe that that's one thing, and jiu-jitsu for self-defense and for fighting is another.
There's more ends than ors in the world. Just like, yes. It would be like, trying to simulate an actual altercation. At some point you have to say, oh, but even if you were to say, okay, anything goes, but what if they have a friend? What if you can always escalate it. What if you had a baseball bat? So at some point it's like, okay, this is silly. Like there's self-defense and there's sport, like you say. And by, saying, okay, this is, and I appreciate a lot the way you answered earlier, your response earlier when I asked if your students, if they want to compete, it's like having that level of honesty from an instructor, from like a mentor type figures is huge. A lot of instructors in traditional martial arts and jiu-jitsu and all sports, they will say, oh no, just stick around, I'll show you how to do it. No, just stick with me, blah blah. Yeah, because they want to retain the thing for the money. Yeah. But no, this goes a long way. That you want what's best for the student, so it's cool. Correct. But seeing the size of these classes, and this gym is the size, you could have a professional basketball court in here and people watching. This is a big place, and seeing this mat packed on, the middle of the week is actually a testament to,
It's so humbling. And we're so happy with having built this building. We're naming this building after our father, because without him, this would not have been possible. And this is a place, because you came here today. I didn't know you were coming. Yep. You found me here teaching class. And anytime you come, you will find me here. And you will find my brothers here. Because there's no other place that I would like to be more than here. I love teaching jiu-jitsu. I love being on the mat. Sometimes people say, the Valente Brothers are very good with business. I don't know exactly what they mean by that, but my business is on the mat. My business is being the best teacher. And that's what I prepared myself my entire life to do, to become a good teacher. And I had amazing mentors and masters who helped me in this journey. And I try to become a better teacher for my students every single day. And for us to have a building like this is a freestanding building dedicated to the preservation of the roots of jiu-jitsu. We have this main mat, then we have 3 private classrooms. We have another one for smaller group classes in the back. We have a museum and a picture gallery that's going to tell the story of our art, going back to the Japanese stage of jiu-jitsu development, and then in Brazil, and then a little bit of our family and our history, because we already have been for over 60 years, 3 generations. My father and my grandfather enrolled at the Academia Gracie on April 27th, 1953.
Wow.
And so many years. And my father became very close to Grandmaster Helio, and that friendship was beautiful. And really, because of that friendship and that amazing relationship that they had, we were able to dedicate ourselves to this beautiful art and to work very hard to be able, and small steps. People sometimes think that this just came about from nothing. But the truth is that we first started teaching in a small little warehouse with holes on the wall in South Miami. And we kept teaching there until that place was full. Then we went to, in Sunny Isles, close to here, to a small little place that was around 2,000 square feet with only 1 mat area. And then we were there for about 5 years until that space was full with a lot of sweat, a lot of hard work. Then we moved to the location that we were before this one, which was already like a 6,500 square foot facility. When I moved into that location in 2003, I said, oh my God, what am I going to do with all this space? And 14 years later, we had filled up that place, and we were able to invest in this amazing dream of ours, taking everything that we made through all those years of work, my brothers and I, and investing it right back. One of our students, he wrote on Facebook, he said, the Valente Brothers, they put their money where their mouth is. They really took everything and they invested in this school, because imagine, to build this building is not easy.
No.
And our little brother Joaquin, he spearheaded this project. He was here, construction. This was another building here. We demolished it and we built this from scratch. This is a brand new building. And this is no easy task. It was a significant investment for us. But we're not afraid of hard work, and we're going to work hard to make it work. And hopefully a lot of people, not just here in the Miami area, but from around the world, as it already has been happening. So many people from around the country and around the world have been visiting our school with the purpose of learning more about the history and about the origins of our system.
Yeah, you had one student in today that was from, down the road from where I grew up in New Jersey, actually. Okay. So it's a small world. And this is. And we have another one.
We had another one from Guatemala. Just today, we had 4 or 5 visitors on the mat, and that's been happening a lot. And visitors are always welcome. And a lot of people also have been coming to learn our system, especially the stand-up self-defense. Some of the sport guys, Vitor Shaolin, nice. He has been working with us for a while. Amazing guy, amazing fighter, with great success, not only in sport jiu-jitsu, but also MMA, but such a humble human being and it has been a pleasure to work with him and to see his quick progress in learning the other elements of jiu-jitsu, stand-up self-defense, and very exciting to see that.
He's got a really popular academy back in New York. Yeah.
Yes.
I've a few friends that moved over to the East Coast, and now they're training under him.
Great teacher and great person. Yeah.
Well, this is a testament that hard work pays off and dreams come true if you put everything in it.
Yes.
And without the passion, then there's no auditorium-sized gym with a museum. So all the hard work, it's very cool. I'm very happy for the success.
And it's only beginning. Still a lot of work ahead, and that's the beauty of it, because we appreciate and we're grateful for the opportunity to work. We believe that work is one of the best things for the human spirit.
I agree.
The opportunity to work. People sometimes are looking to retire. I'm not. I don't want to retire from jiu-jitsu ever. When I think of myself at 70 years old, at 80 years old, I think of myself doing the same thing I do today, teaching the same classes, God willing, that I do today. And I had a great inspiration by looking at Grandmaster Pedro and seeing that it's possible.
Yeah.
And I try to take care of myself physically, mentally, and spiritually as much as I can to be able to do just that.
It's important, getting enough sleep, getting the rest, eating right. If you don't, then if you go and train, it does something not just to your body, but to your mind and to your performance.
And not doing those things for a specific date, for a tournament, because sometimes athletes, and not just in jiu-jitsu, in every sport, they prepare themselves for that tournament. And then what do? Right after the tournament is over, they go to the bar, they get drunk, they eat terrible foods until the next tournament. And then when they retire, they usually become obese. They have all sorts of problems, not just physically, but mentally. Oh, yeah. We believe in building positive habits so that you do it all the time. It's not for a tournament. It's not for a goal. You're not doing it for the end result. You're enjoying the process. It's about the process more than the end result. And I think that's very important. Enjoying the process, enjoying the journey.
Jiu-jitsu it's a great system for life. It makes people's lives better. It's made my life better, and because of that, I'm able to train. I'm healthy. I feel great. I'm on the road doing this. I'm doing something I love doing. I'm literally, my whole mission right now, I'm learning and making friends. That's it. This is beautiful. That's what I want to do. I could spend another 17 years as an IT engineer, engineering manager, whatever. Pays very well.
Yeah.
But if there's no passion there, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, we don't measure success in the pocket. We measure success in our minds and how happy we are and how fulfilled we are and how much we're helping others. I also had a similar situation when I finished my MBA. I had some great job offers from multinational corporations where I knew that I was going to get paid more than teaching jiu-jitsu. But I made a decision to dedicate myself fully to jiu-jitsu because I think there's no better profession in the world. It might not allow you to make the most money, but you can make a good living. But most importantly, you're going to be surrounded by people every day, people who are trying on a mission to become better human beings. And you're going to be able to do something that you love, something that's healthy, something that's positive on a daily basis. And what's better than that? What's more success than that?
No, it's the last honest job. This is the last honest profession, because it doesn't matter if it's self-defense or competition. Your place in the academy, it's like in a pride of lions, your place is based on your effort and your performance.
As long as you're being a positive role model for your students, and as long as you're transmitting something positive, a good message, then I think it's amazing, no matter if it's sport, no matter if it's self-defense, no matter other activities, yoga, other martial arts, other sports, art.
Sure.
As long as the teacher, any teacher in any field, must always be a positive role model to their students. And as long as that's happening, I think it's a good thing, and I'm very proud to be a teacher. I think it's a very, very good and honest profession.
I think so. I think it's just it's important for people to be nice to each other, to be good to each other, to be good to themselves, and it's I know I'm keeping you late from your family, man. Pedro, I'd like to thank you for coming on. I hate that it's short notice, but I had to ask. I've wanted to meet you for a while now, and
it's a pleasure.
I'm bad about the Facebook messages and stuff. They never get through. So
it's great to meet you face to face. seen your podcast before. I'm a fan of your work, and I'm really happy that you came here and you gave me this incredible opportunity to speak to your viewers. And once again, congratulations on the great work that you're doing.
Oh, likewise, obviously. It was an awesome experience, a great pleasure, and I look forward to coming back and visiting again soon, man.
Thank you.
Lovely city you got
Thank you
here.
so much.
Thank you, man.